Hello and welcome to Fight News Now. It's John Pollock here alongside John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We're going to get into today's news, but we start off with the tragic passing of Josh Samman. He had been in a coma over the past week after he'd been found with a friend of his. Both were unresponsive. The friend passed away, and now, sadly, Josh Samman has also passed away at the age of 28. There is no cause of death that's been ruled as of yet. A tragic story, John. Not much we can say.
Yeah, I've read some of the things on social media. Some of his friends, they've been, dealing with this scenario over the last number of days. They were very optimistic. Unfortunately, for friends and family, they have to deal with this during this time. Just awful news.
And also, a fighter a very thoughtful one as well. We got to see his writing with Bloody Elbow. I mean, this was someone that really did understand the industry as a whole and very inquisitive when it came to the deeper issues of the sport, which is something you don't always see with every fighter. It's just a very sad story involving Josh Samman. So we are going to move on. BJ Penn is off of the UFC Fight Night card in the Philippines. This is the latest setback for BJ Penn in 2016. And now they're searching for an opponent for Ricardo Lamas. It was MMA Junkie that first reported the news. This, to me, John, is a big blow to that card in the Philippines. This card was built around BJ Penn's return. Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but again, you can understand. Let's just say it's not a huge injury, but you want to be as close to 100% as humanly possible when you're facing a guy like Ricardo Lamas, who is going to certainly bring it and would love to make his name off of BJ Penn, so to speak. And BJ Penn is going to be under the microscope no matter how you slice it, because based on what we saw the last time he was inside of the cage, people are like, wait a second, BJ Penn doesn't have it anymore. Why is he fighting like this? So you know that a lot of people were going to be ready to scrutinize any type of performances or any degradation of skills, so to speak.
Yeah, you hope that BJ gets to do what he wants to do here and that right. We were talking about it on 5 Rounds today, and Winston Churchill said success is just failure after failure without losing enthusiasm. And this is just another setback. This is just another challenge. And BJ's had a number of them. He's had some personal ones. He used an IV bag, which was an old school thing that he didn't realize he couldn't do. There was a number of them. This is just another one. Stay with it, BJ. You love fighting, man. If this is what you want to do, we can't wait to see you fight.
For that particular card now, you have a big vacancy in the main event slot. An interesting name who's thrown his name into the hat is Philip Nover, who just fought Renan Barao. And on such short notice, that might be your best option. Here's someone that, A, is Filipino. Yeah. You can insert him into this card, and I think is someone that would be of interest. You're not going to replace a BJ Penn, I think, with anyone of that equal name value. But Philip Nover might be a very viable option if he is willing to, and you can get everything processed for him to fight so quickly.
I totally understand why you would go down that route, but you're trying to sell a show here. You're trying to get the fans excited, and this is the problem right now when you don't load the cards up, when you don't use that old model. However, we're seeing that old model used at UFC 205, where they're completely stacking the card, that even if Conor and Eddie isn't, if some reason that fight falls through, you still have
Don't say that.
So many, it's not going to fall through. You have so many fighters on that card that can sell it. This, you have Derek Lewis and Tybura in the co-featured bout. So I don't know how many people are going to be jazzed. It really doesn't matter what type of opponent they're going to find for Ricardo Lamas.
It's interesting when a big fight falls apart, usually it's your work that gets thrown out the window. This time, it was him.
Yeah, but thank God.
You guys are salvaging.
Look, Sarge got the job done, and yes, we managed to salvage
So the
show.
only place to see BJ Penn in action next week is on the Fight Network through John Ramdeen and his walk down memory lane.
And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about this card, is because when you go back and you look at his body of work and everything that he's done in the sport, fighting for the 155-pound championship, which was called the Bantamweight Championship back in the day when Jens Pulver first fought for it. And then everything this outstanding fight with John Fitch, his trilogy fights with Matt Hughes, and his battle at UFC 58 with George St. Pierre, and everything in between. The fight with Frankie Edgar, where he's a minus 900 favorite going into that fight in Abu Dhabi. So just really a tremendous career, and that's why I was very excited to see BJ Penn get back inside of the cage. I still think he's going to do it. Clearly not the show in Manila, but hopefully before, too long.
A side note on Philip Nova, yes, you want people to tune into your thing, but also in the Philippines, you've got a room you want to fill. And that's a story that they can use. And I was training with Angelo Reyes, who's a high-level boxing coach for Frank Mir and other people. And out of nowhere, he just mentioned Philip Nova's name. He's talking about athletes. He said, a young guy like this, where it's just a little bit of technique you can change. Him in particular, he pulled out saying he'd like to see what this guy could do with just a little technical changes.
Final topic. Khabib Nurmagomedov is upset. You can add his name to the list of very disgruntled UFC fighters, along with Jose Aldo. He is stating after he fights Michael Johnson in November, if he does not get a title fight, he wants out of the UFC. And he's also saying they will never get into Russia if they get on his bad side.
Hey man, Kareem, who writes over at Bloody Elbow, he is the expert in the world politics fighting of Russia, how it connects to Russia. He speaks Russian. He travels over there a lot. And Kareem examined it. And he's like, actually, he has some pretty influential billionaires that are involved with Nurmagomedov. And he said it's not the most far-fetched thing that he could influence that, which is crazy.
These are some interesting chess pieces on the board. Last thing, do you feel Nurmagomedov, this guy was flat out lied to about this fight with Eddie Alvarez, the bout agreements he had sent.
That's the game.
Is that it? Just the game?
That's the game. You're trying to sell pay-per-views with the new ownership. They've got to sell it, so...
We are back on Thursday night with our 1-hour preview show counting down to UFC 204. It's the rematch between Michael Bisping and Dan Henderson, this time for the middleweight gold.